Hello, America. I speak to you today to discuss a vital issue, one that afflicts every citizen of this nation in one way or another. It is a greater threat to our domestic security than any terrorist, and it is more dangerous than any weapon. It has the ability to cause countless deaths, to cost people their homes, their jobs, and above all else, their dignity. I do not come before you with any promise of an answer to this problem, and I would not pretend to have any absolute solutions. But I can and I will present before you a slim hope. You see, we have what I view as an infection in our own government. What I mean to say is that like a virus, it has spread through every branch it has come in contact with. It has corrupted the very bits and pieces that make up the body of our democracy, and it has turned them into agents of its own agenda. So what is this virus I speak of? Is it a person, an organization? Is it some sort of top-secret hodgepodge of corrupt individuals causing moral decay within our government? Well, yes and no. But in truth, it is simply the grim reality of a corporate-sponsored government. It is the consequence of the blind eye we have turned for far too many years to the lobby groups, the companies, and the representatives who would buy and sell our fate like a commodity. I am sure many of you are averse to such a conspiracy theory. Such a convenient label to apply to anything that doesn't fit within the other pieces of the great political puzzle so many of us have strived to understand. But what I am telling you is no theory, though for the sake of our nation I wish that it was. No, what I speak of is an absolute truth, with countless sources, countless examples, and an ever-growing number of costly consequences. If you wish to verify my statements, one need only look at how much and who sponsored their local congressman. Or for a more grandiose example, let us look at our own president. I'm sure the recent AIG scandal is fresh in many of your minds. So now I ask you to look at how much money AIG gave to Obama for his election campaign. The picture then, when we apply this process of researching which corporation sponsored whom, and who passed or vetoed what laws, begins to become much more clear. So then where does this problem begin? Where does the first piece of the puzzle fall? Well, that is a difficult question. This corruption runs very deep, and this is not a new dilemma. It is not any kind of new threat that we face. It is an old enemy, one that has stalked human civilization since the dawn of time. Every great nation, every empire, every world power has fallen prey to this disease. It is cautious, it is intelligent, and all but the most principled of individuals are easy victims, and in turn, agents of this disease. For in truth it is nothing more than greed, the greed of corporations, the greed of our non-representing representatives. This disease, however, is not perfect. It can be fought, and it can, when it grows large, such as it has now, become easily identified. The most clear example of this infection can be seen with a simple glance at the Federal Reserve System, the central bank of the United States of America. The facts are that this organization is not a reserve of any kind, nor is it a federal entity. It is a corporate entity that is privately owned. They do not hold money, but print money at a debt to our own government. In turn, they create a debt that is mathematically impossible to ever repay. This is where 99% of our income taxes go, every year without halt. It is why Social Security, education, and countless other public services almost always go underfunded. But I will not speak any more of this. I merely wish to highlight just how far and how deep this infection goes. For the Federal Reserve is our second central bank. The first was abolished after the people of this nation elected President Andrew Jackson, who provided temporary relief to the very same disease that I now speak of. He abolished the first central banking system. Nay, you see, the issue we face today is not the dissolution of the Federal Reserve. It is not an ailing economy, and it is not any of the countless issues afflicting us in these seemingly perilous times. No, the real issue, the one that has the potential to worsen or allow for the improvement of our situation, and of every other problem facing our nation, is that of corporate campaign financing. You see, from the moment that you allow a private corporate entity to influence an election in any way, shape, or form, you quite simply open the floodgates of corruption. What man will represent the interests of his constituents when he owes a great debt to some company with no stock in the welfare of these people, but has much interest in piles of money to be made with the actions that are often harmful to the economy, the individuals, and the environments of said constituents? Even the most disinterested individual, who only hears of political news a few times a year, can now see a government that seems to make rather rash, thoughtless decisions that benefit the few rather than the many. This is because they no longer have any interest in the majority. I am here to tell you that they do not represent us, but they represent the corporations who help finance their political careers, and in turn aided them in their efforts to attain political power. Oh, we face many challenges, and at this time the future can seem dark. But for better or for worse, this is still our country. It does not matter that corporations may have corrupted our government. It is a non-issue that our Bill of Rights has been laid bare and trampled upon by a power-mad executive branch, with interest only in giving money to the wealthy, and who views the majority as a twisted form of human capital. This is because we must take our government back. We must remind those who hold political power to whom they answer and to whom they serve. They are not our masters, they are our servants, and they seem to have forgotten that a politician in this democracy holds no promise of power. It is rather to be reserved for those who would have no interest in politics, in wealth, nor in power at all, but rather for those who feel a passionate desire to serve the people of this nation, who represent a kinship and a bond of trust between the American people and the American government. We need to restore this bond, but we need not fear, for if we fail today, one day a future generation will face down this threat. But if we do not challenge those who do these things today, here, and now, we will continue to pay the price for our silence. Our children may not have the luxury of keeping silent at all, for they will suffer the ever-growing consequences, and will be left with no other option than to speak out. What we need, what we must have to restore our republic is not a revolution, it is not a revolt, and it is not a phone call to our senators. No, rather it is time for us to call upon our state legislators to organize and demand a constitutional convention. For our founding fathers, in what from my perspective seems to be a kind of foresight that no man should possess, have left us with one last peaceful solution. They have left us with one last great hope in restoring our democracy. Already groups are organizing. Already our government is fearful. With the Patriot Act, with fusion centers, with the classification of anyone who even bothers to vote third party as a militant, they seek to scare us into submission. But we will not submit to injustice. As our forebears poured tea into the ocean to show their contempt for the British Empire, we will have our own tea party, and we will show them the contempt that they have for so long shown us. So I ask you to join these people, to stand with them. They are your friends, your neighbors, but above all else, they are your brothers and sisters in this democracy. The ancient Romans believed in the duty of a citizen in order to safeguard the republic. So should we. In soon, America, we will have our constitutional convention, and when we do, we will make sure that those who have corrupted our government answer for their crimes. As they have locked 20% of our population in their prisons for victimless crimes, we will find room for them as well. But I cannot do this alone, and neither can you. We must stand together in solidarity and demand, not ask for these things. Oh, indeed, we face a great challenge. But our forefathers, our grandparents, and our parents have all faced challenges in their time. In the words of Coretta Scott King, every generation must earn its freedom. So we shall, and we will secure the future of these 51 states. We will restore what has been lost, and we will not be silenced, and we will make sure that this is never, ever allowed to happen again. Dear Mr. Obama, it is time for change indeed, but I do not expect that it will come from Washington. It will come by reminding our federal government that they serve the states, and that we do not serve them. Until the day that we outlaw and in turn lock away into the deepest, darkest prison cells those who would dare to corrupt our democracy, we will never have a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, but rather we will forever be afflicted with a government by the corporate, for the corporate, with an utter disregard for the people. Thank you, America. This message is approved by me.